This is going to be part 2 to the Varla Eagle 1 scooter review. Now, if you already saw part 1, you're pretty familiar with what this little guy has to offer, but this one's going to be range testing, adventure, modifications, breakdowns, anything that happens with this scooter. And I'm going to make sure to put timestamps down below since I'm sure some of it will be boring. So the first test is going to be, we're going to go turbo mode, mode 3, single wheel only, and we're going to find out the range. So it's going to be flat ground. I'm 180 pounds and the battery is fully charged. Outside temperatures 50 degrees. Let's fire this thing up and get her on mode 3, so our top speed, we should be around, 24, 25 miles an hour. And as you saw in part 1, we only got a range of 18 miles when we were on dual wheel mode, running mostly mode 3. So I'm hoping to get at least 20, 25 miles out of it today. And it's going to be getting dark in about an hour or so. So let's go hit the road. I've only got 32 miles on this so far. Just reset the trip, and we do have the lights on. We're going slight downhill, and our top speed on single mode is about 27 miles an hour. Oh, there it is right there, 27. This is the only hill climb on the ride, and she holds about 15 mile an hour uphill. Done about 4 miles almost, and it holds a true 24 to 25 miles an hour on the absolute flats once you're up to speed with the single wheel mode 3. Not bad. We'll see how that is once the battery gets a lot lower though. Wow, look at this. This used to be a coal-fired power plant, Mercer generating station. I actually did 3 videos on this place. I'll plug a link up in the corner to one of them, but I did a 3-part, climbing the tower, going inside one of the turbines, and also going in the canal. But now it's they've knocked it all down. They're putting warehousing in. Crazy to see how things change. I'm glad I got those videos though, because it's a piece of history, you know. We'll hop on the canal here now. Nice and flat and smooth. No need to stop when we're cruising on here. I wish I had more daylight. It's one thing I don't like about the winter. I don't mind the chilly temperatures. Well, pretty mild winter so far, actually. Can't believe it was a high of 50 today. Man, this canal's seen better days. Somebody's got to clean these trees up. We were 5.4 miles in, and our battery voltage is 40 or 50 volts when we're trigger down. We're actually only showing 2 bars on the battery, but if I let go, they climbs back up to 4 bars. I'm hoping we'll get at least 20 out of it. I mean, really, more would be nice. We'll see. And so you might not think it's a workout, but it really actually, if you keep your knees slightly bent like that, this is a pretty good workout. And then you ride one foot and you do a little bit of stretching, yoga on this thing while you're cruising. So it's certainly a leg workout. I don't know about arm workout, but definitely leg. I mean, really, you could just sit here and do squats the whole time. Oh yeah. There goes the river line. This thing breaks down, that's what I'll be taking back to Trenton. I feel like this thing needs a steering damper. I mean, if you let go of the bars on this rough terrain, it goes into a speed wobble pretty quick. Ooh, hit some mud there. Almost went sideways. In fact, I did definitely go sideways. Wow, we made it to Bordentown. This is the Crosswicks Creek right here. The last tidal creek on the river as you come upstream before it becomes non-tidal. So this is like a last stop for migrating fish. They come up and spawn in the shallow waters. And here's where the river line comes through. All right, now this is a hill here. So let's see how this does on single mode. This is a pretty steep hill actually. It's definitely struggling. So I'm only doing, we're at 8 miles now, and I'm only doing 8 miles up this hill. It's holding a solid 8 up this hill. So it's not bad. This is Bordentown, New Jersey. Take a quick break. We're at 8.2 miles.
And I'm like, okay.
And after a 10-minute break, let's see how many bars we got. We got 3 bars still at 40 miles, and the trip always resets. So put it back on gear 3 and let's go. Just gonna take the same route back, and it would be nice if this had regenerative braking for big long hills. I mean, this one's not too big, but it would be sweet to have that. Oh, big bump there. right, we just barely made it back. Totally lost a bunch of power and ran it up and down the street till it threw a E00 code. You see, we still have 1 bar, but once you get down to that 1 bar, so my trip was 11.6. I want to say it lost power around 10.5 miles, and I barely made it another mile after that. So yeah, we'll call that a max range of 20 miles. There was a couple hills there, but just all flat, pedal to the metal the whole time. Trying to not use any braking, but did use some braking. Of course, less you use, the more efficient it's going to be. I will say this thing holds very linear power throughout the battery life. Like some skateboards I've had, once you're past mid battery life, it just drops off. This thing was holding a good 23 to 25 miles an hour the entire time when you're pinned on flats. So that was pretty good. It wasn't until the very end with that 1 bar where it just dies off and you have a mile to get back home. And the volts were down to 41.5 when that was happening. And now it's 9 hours till she is fully charged. I'll have to get a second charger for that. Okay, and the first modifications I've added, these are just some bolt-ons from Amazon. I'll try and drop links to this stuff down below, by the way. But got a little cup holder, and this is adjustable. Tangs in here, so automatically adjustable. Holds a drink nice and secure, and it just clamps right onto the bar. Very firm on there and seems of pretty good quality, actually. Usually when you see these, you think of like chintzy plastic ones, but anyway, so I got a bag on the front I just added too. This got 2 velcro straps here, velcro straps, and then 2 of them dead on the bar. I did find it necessary to throw some just rubber in there. It's like a drawer liner, like this stuff that goes in drawer liner. You can get at Walmart, anywhere, and that just gave it a little bit more stability. But now as you're riding, you know, you can lean over the front and zip. This is supposed to be water resistant too. You know, drop down in there, and you got a front zipper pouch here, and then tuck your stuff in there. Very handy to have that, a good use of that front space. Maybe down the line I'll build some other kind of custom front pouch, but for 20 bucks, I mean, there's a whole bunch of them on there, lots of options. That works good. The next thing I wanted to address is the rear fender. I don't know what happened, but you see, it's kind of cattywampus, and I did lose one of my rubber rear blocks too, but that's okay. So oh yeah, so this actually broke through. This fender is pretty cheap, but see these screws, I'm gonna take these out, and I'm thinking we should add some better screws or washers there, because there's just really no bite on these. Like if I add a washer there, let's see how that looks. Tiny little screws on here. I mean, listen, these things are micro screws. I like these washers I have that have the rubber built into them, and I think that would seat really nice on there. So I was going to use some of these like mesh screws for masonry, but I think I want to make those bigger. There you go. That is so much nicer than these little things over here. That's where I tried hitting it with the self-tap. And we'll call that good to go. Re-engineered. In the future, maybe we'll end up making a custom fender, but that's much better than factory. And I'll do the same thing to the front. So I was riding this yesterday, and the rear brakes stopped working. So you see when I pull this, it goes all the way to the bar, and it has basically no resistance. And the second problem is, see, when I let go of the brakes, the brake light stays on. So I have to forcefully push that back to be able to continue on, because you can't be throttling it while you have the brakes on. Now, so I did pick up some mineral oil, because that's what these take. I'll just try bleeding them out, and I'm going to loosen this hex on the bottom and rotate this horizontal first. But I wonder if it has to do with the way I have my brake levers set up, kind of pointing down, because I'm pretty tall, so that works better for me, so I don't have to, you know, cock my wrist. And also keeps my throttle flat like that, and both brake levers down. Now the fronts still work fine. So it was a 4mm hex on this clamp to rotate this horizontal, and then a 2mm hex on this plug right here. You take it off, and I assume you use a syringe to be able to fill this brake fluid, but I went ahead and took the other 2mm hex off too. I want to see what this looks like in here. And okay, that's what the cap looks like. And then you got your little diaphragm seal, and boom. Yeah, look at that. The fluid is pretty low, so it was sucking in air. See that? Well, so now I don't see a bleed port on the back of here either. It looks like you would just use the banjo bolt to bleed these out. But I think I'll just fill this up first, cycle it, and I bet you that'll take care of it. So what you do is just cycle this brake lever real slowly, and you should see air bubbles come out, which mine had a bunch coming out of there. And then it stopped, and it still wasn't tight, so I leaned the bike over this way a little bit to give some angle. Well, now let's see if I can get some more. No, yeah, it's nice and tight now, though, so no need. Wow, that's self-bleeding. So that worked great. Just had to top it off. And now even with these brakes working nice and firm, when you let go, you see the brake light still stays on. So the brake light switch is located right here. And I don't see any adjustment. However, it's loose. So snug that down a little bit. And I bet you that takes care of the problem. I gotta snug down the clamp too. Let's see. There we go. Perfect. And with that fixed, I can now go take it for a spin to get some parts. Got to get brake hoses for the 71 Chevelle. Doing a Will It Run video on this beautiful car. Look at that thing. Jen's first time trying out the Varla. We'll see what she thinks. Made her put a helmet on. She didn't want to, but...
Obstacle.
What are you thinking so far?
I like it.
All right.
Yeah,
you look good on there. We've only gone a few blocks, but she's already vibing with it. It's on eco mode, speed 1. Got to replace that rear rotor still. It's hard to believe that there used to be a school here only a few years ago, and they knocked it down. And that's the summer seat there. And then look, this is where all the kids would go down into the field for recess and stuff. And well, I assume they had recess down there. And there is the old flag pole. Look at that. Very cool. Nice and sturdy still. What's that? No, you're fine. Just keep going. Oh, watch that bump. Yeah, you hit that.
I just said I'm stopping, and you said no.
I didn't know what you said you were stopping for. So you can easily pop over that. You just got it. There's a technique to just kind of popping the front end up.
Okay.
You use the suspension. I'll show you at a later time.
And what I really think about the Varla is I loved it. It was so much fun. It's a little sketchy at first, but I got used to it, and I love it, and I want one really bad.
All right, well, you heard it from Jennifer. She was a little skeptical at first, for sure. She didn't like how high the deck was, but I encouraged her that there was a reason for this height and it would soak up bumps. And how did this thing do over those bumps?
I never really took a full throttle over the bumps, so I'm not sure. It did well for me because I went slow.
It did well for her. You hear that? And I don't know if you noticed, but I did add one more accessory, the cell phone holder, another Amazon piece. You just push up and then it locks in. You can actually hit a red button back here to lock it. Boom. And then you can't pull it out. It won't fall out over bumps. Check it out. I finally got the bar hold down. Shipping took a little bit, but it seems like good quality, so pretty elementary to put on. Remove these two 5mm hex that are already on the board, and then it actually came with screws, so bolt that right down there. I recommend using some blue Loctite. And then this one, unfortunately, the clamp doesn't spread open, so looks like we will have to loosen this 4mm slide and the 5mm right here, slide these bars off, and then of course I got my bag on there too. So let me get that on, and I'll give you a couple tips. So after taking those two screws out, this clamp seems like it would fit perfectly. It does, but the holes don't actually line up at all. It seems it has to go forward some, so I could either shade down the aluminum on the deck, which I don't want to do, so I'm just gonna take this to the... Took the front lip off, and now looks like it should work good. For the top, you're loosening this 5mm. Take the cap off. Again, these two 4mm, and then you can slide the bars off. Of course, I had to take the tank bag out too, and then two 5mm right here and here. And now we can slide this on and drop her right there. Tighten it down later. Keep in mind, Loctite on all those fasteners. And there's the final product. Got some good action on it. So you gotta make sure to line your bars back up straight when you're putting it on. And I have my phone mount folded forward because of course that's gonna get in the way when we drop it down. And then we'll slide this clamp and try them out. No, I don't really love that. Yeah, that works. There it is. Very nice. I guess my first thought looking at it was that it seems like this should be located a little bit higher, but you can't do that with this set screw here. However, when you pull up on it, it has a little elevated spot right here that kind of locks it in. So, because if that wasn't there, it would just yank the thing right off. But anyway, yeah. Then you drop it in, lock it, pick her up, walk away. After a few trial runs, I don't fully trust this because you see that steep angle that it's on. Well, as soon as you pull up on this, I mean, yeah, it's holding it fine, but if you jiggle it around or you happen to bump this, watch this, with the full weight holding it, if I hit it with my finger just a little bit, it just pops right off. I mean, it's like about to go. What I'm gonna do is file this a little bit deeper because there's plenty of meat on this thing. So if I just take a round file like so, and again, if you didn't do this, it would probably be fine, but I'm gonna make this groove just a little deeper in here. Let's see what a difference that made. Give it a couple yanks. It's not breaking, which is good. Let's go full weight of the scooter and then try to push it. Oh, it still goes, look at that. If that gets undone while you're walking on a train or something, it could be kind of ugly. Yeah, I didn't like that very much, so I took the clamp off, reversed it, I had the clearance, the back side of it now, or now the front side, and cut it. And let's see how this works now. I think this is gonna work a little bit better. Look at that. So now, once you're carrying it, there's no way for it to come out at all if you bump it with your finger or something like that. I mean, unless I installed this thing wrong, then that'll be hilarious if somebody wants to correct me in the comments down below, but I think this modified version flipped this way is definitely the how it should be installed. So a little bit of cutting, shouldn't have to do that, but is what it is. It works well now. All right, and I think we'll wrap up the part 2 video here. A couple things I think I failed to mention. One of them was the rear rotor. Now, they actually did send me a new rotor, but it ended up being the wrong size. So what I did is just take the caliper off, and then you take a marker, hold it here, spin it, and with the marker, you'll see the bent spot, and then you could just bend it right back, and that was no issue. Doesn't pulse or anything, and no more rubbing back there. However, I've been having problems with these brakes squeaking so much, and so I've taken the pads off, re-scuffed them up. I put brake quiet on the back of them, some grease in there too, brake silicone grease, and I just can't get them to stop squeaking no matter what. So I'm going to look into maybe getting some aftermarket pads. You might have noticed that I switched off cup holders. I ended up going with this style instead because that just holds drinks a little bit better, and a different phone holder too. I also put this on the front because now with the fold down bars, I knew it was going to be getting in the way of that, or when you want to lock them down. But otherwise, yeah, this thing's been awesome, and I'm really looking forward to the summer to do some more adventuring with it and long trips. One other thing, they did actually send me a second charger for it. So now I ran this down the other day, and it only takes about 4.5 hours to go to full charge instead of 9 hours now. So that's really nice that they have the dual ports. It would be cool if they even sold like Meepo recently did, the 8 amp charger for their V4 skateboard. That would be awesome if you could charge this thing in like, a half hour, an hour. So that way, if you took a trip, just bring that big charger with you and you'd be good to go. Or heck, you could even run a little generator pack or a bulk battery on this external. That's going to be all in the future. But for now, super impressed with this. And you may have seen my other video where I was using the Gyroor scooter I got, liking that one too. But having the full suspension is really just makes a world of difference when you're cruising around on this Varla here. And that'll wrap this up. Hopefully you found this video entertaining or informative. I know I left a lot more travel in the beginning, so that's why I put timestamps in, because I'm like, nobody's gonna watch this whole thing. But maybe some people will, or leave it on for background noise, or who knows. Any feedback, drop it down below. Hugely appreciate that. Really appreciate you watching, and can't thank you enough. So hopefully I will see you in a future video. This is No Nonsense, No How. Over out.